I still have my backup decom in case it's 1 week. I'm just like, I can't do this.
Okay, great.
I've got that one I did notes on that I decided wasn't quite weird enough somehow.
The break in case of emergency decom.
Yeah, it's exactly what that is.
Wonderful. I'm so glad we have that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Danielle.
I'm Sam.
And this is a podcast where one of us explains a weird piece of media to the other who has no experience with it.
And that's me, Danielle. I'm like a brand new pair of scissors in that clamshell packaging. How are you going to get me out of there without another pair of scissors already?
Where did these come from?
I panicked on that one, I'll be honest.
I mean, totally valid, though. Those are impossible to get out.
What a brilliant piece of engineering.
I actually had new scissors recently, and I had someone in my house, and I held them up, and I was like, why? Why do you need scissors to get into the scissors?
A question for the ages that many comedians have already addressed, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Are you ready for this extravaganza that does not include scissors at all?
Well, then why are we even here, Danielle? What's the point?
I don't know. We'll just call it a day. Go about
all right, everyone.
business.
We decided that without scissors, our podcast is pointless. We're going to wrap it there. Thank you for all your support.
You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com.
Yeah, we won't do anything else with it because we're done. Because without scissors, again, there's no point to this or anything. But you can still do it. We'll take the money.
Anything in life.
Right.
Okay. We're hilarious. Anyway.
There's someone finds us amusing. Besides us, maybe.
Today, Sam, we're doing something non-scissor related.
No!
The 1999 miniseries, The Magical Legend of the Leprechauns.
What?
Yay!
Is this like the 10th Kingdom?
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
Which I was thinking about while I was watching it. It's the 10th Kingdom's a better miniseries.
It's a fun book, a good miniseries. That's a winner. I think the 10th Kingdom is a winner.
I'm going to send you the summary so that you have it.
A summary for the whole series. Is there going to be one sentence for the whole series, Danielle?
2 sentences.
Oh, getting fancy.
That tell you very little.
Okay. An American spends his holiday in Ireland. Well, I could have seen that coming. Where he is introduced to the world of magical creatures like leprechauns and fairies. In a subplot. Thank you, summary.
That's why I laughed when I saw it earlier.
Okay. A forbidden love story blossoms between leprechaun Mickey, and fairy Jessica. Okay?
There you go. That's the summary. That's the summary.
So it's going to be like selkies and leprechauns and all the like Irish folklore stuff?
Yes. I won't mention every single folkloric creature that comes into the show, but yes.
Great. So was this like produced by the Tourism Board of Ireland or something?
I have no idea. But the cast is stellar. You're going to love it.
I'll be honest, Danielle. I'm having like a flashback to something. I don't know if it was this movie or another leprechaun-based piece of media, but I got very little to go on, so I'm excited.
It might be the other Leprechaun movie that I also thought this was at first, but then turns out it's not.
Okay, well, that solved that question.
There are a surprising amount of Leprechaun media pieces in the world.
Good for them. They deserve to have their stories told, I suppose, as much as anyone.
All right, you ready for this?
Let's do it. I'm excited. Let's get into whatever this is called, Magical Leprechaun
you laughed at
Travel.
me when I couldn't remember it earlier.
Yeah, but you're the one who watched it. You told me the title once.
The Magical Legend of the Leprechauns.
I mean, that's basically what I said.
Exactly. Behold the rolling hills of Ireland and Randy Quaid sitting on a train.
I mean, equally as majestic, yes.
Cue a voiceover of a memory telling us he's on a business trip and this isn't supposed to be a fun vacation, but it's supposed to be serious work.
Who's saying that? Is that Randy Quaid?
Some kind of memory of him talking to somebody else.
Okay, sure.
That's all we get. You just get a voiceover of 2 people talking.
Sounds like a movie opening to me.
He's picked up from the train station by a horse and buggy because Ireland, I guess. And he's taken to a small cottage in the middle of nowhere.
A business trip to a small cottage in the middle of nowhere. A lot of business have small cottages in the middle of nowhere, I suppose.
Yes. So this is the person that is driving the horse and buggy seems to maybe own the house as well, or is selling the house or renting it out to him. It's super unclear. But it seems that this man, Randy, is paying for his own work accommodations for some reason, which I've never gone on a business trip and had to pay for my own work accommodations.
No, that's not okay. Also, is his name Randy, or you're just calling him Randy because it's Randy
I'm
Quaid?
100% calling him Randy the entire time.
Okay. Did you ever learn his name in the movie?
You do, but it is quite a ways in, at least when I noticed it.
I asked, did you ever learn the name in this movie, Dan, or did you just ignore it entirely?
Oh, his name is like Jack, but I'm not calling him that.
Okay, sure,
Jack
fine.
Holmes, maybe? I don't remember his last name.
Sure, fine.
By the time it came up and I noticed his name, it was way too far into it, and all my notes said Randy, so here we are.
That's the kind of journalistic integrity you expect from Book Retorts.
I didn't know this was journalism. I would have done way more research.
Danielle, please. Everything is journalism. We call it that, right?
So the owner seems kind of sketch while he's like showing him around, but we're going with it. He gives him a jug of Irish poteen, which is some kind of liquor, as a housewarming gift. And again, a housewarming gift for a rental seems kind of weird. And
I'll take it. I wish.
After they put it inside, they like leave the house. He goes, to let him watch him drive off on his horse and buggy, I guess. The jug mysteriously moves on its own across the shelf. Woo!
So we're getting right into the stereotypes here where leprechauns want to steal liquor.
Yeah, there's a lot of stereotypes, but it's fine because there's some Irish people in it, Sam. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes it okay.
1999, man.
Yeah,
fair.
I want us all to be better, Danielle.
Not leprechauns, apparently. Randy takes a walk through or gets lost, or I don't know. He's taking a walk through the beautiful backwoods of his country home, and he comes across what honestly looks to be a kind of dirty creek, like muddy.
He's like, I'm going to take a bath in that.
No, but lo and behold, there is a beautiful young woman who springs up naked from it.
Wow. This was the miniseries on TV?
Okay, she's not. You don't see her naked, but she is clearly naked.
Oh.
You see her back.
Well, I'm less excited now about this show, Danielle.
But also, why are you bathing yourself in this very muddy creek? It's brown.
Because she's a fairy or something, and she likes to connect with nature?
No. Anyway, he watches. He watches her for a minute and then is like, oh, gee, maybe I shouldn't be creeping on this woman. But as he turns to leave, he falls and catches her attention.
Oh, of course.
She, of course, thinks he's a peeping Tom, and there's definitely an argument for that. And she starts throwing rocks at him as he tries to explain, but she's not having it.
But also, to be fair, lady, you're the one bathing naked out in, public. So if someone comes across you, it's not really their fault.
I also think, though, that because he supposedly had gotten lost, which I learned later in the plot, it was not clear in the scene, or at least if it was, I wasn't paying attention. He is on her property, I think.
Oh, so he came up but there's no fence or anything. I get it. I mean,
there's not really fences, and there's stone fences in Ireland, but there's not fences in Ireland.
Right. Okay. I'm not saying he's in the clear. I'm also saying that there's some responsibility to share here.
Sure, but he does watch for slightly too long.
Well, that is not okay. That is absolutely not okay.
We're pretending that he's good. He's the good guy in this. So let's continue on and pretend that he's good for the time being.
Oh, sure. I mean, how can you be mad at Randy Quaid? He's America's sweetheart.
He's such an odd choice as a romantic lead.
Oh, he's the romantic lead.
He's the main character.
Doesn't mean to be a romantic lead. I thought the romance was between the leprechaun and the fairy queen or whatever.
Well, you know what? He also has his own romance, and it's a thing. I've seen Randy Quaid in many things, but what I think of most is Independence Day.
Yeah, of course.
It was very hard to watch him in this.
Because he's not acting like a drunk fighter pilot?
That was a great character for him. He really sold that.
I mean, it might be his best role. I don't know as much about Randy Quaid as you do, probably.
Just crazy. Anyway, he somehow makes it home. I guess he runs off or whatever, and he decides to take a drink of the liquor that the man gave him. And apparently it's very strong. He starts, coughing and everything immediately. And he asks to himself, the room at large, what the stuff could possibly be made of. And a voice answers him. Potatoes, alcohol. You ignoramus.
Of course. I didn't want to be racist, but here we are.
He searches the rooms. He's looking for the voice, but assumes he's hearing things until he goes back.
Because he's drunk.
Yeah, well, from the one drink. He takes literally one sip.
What a lightweight.
The rest of this is crazy because he takes one sip of this alcohol. So he goes back to get the liquor bottle.
Wait. He can see and hear leprechauns because he drank the alcohol? I thought they were just there.
No, he does not. It's just... We'll find out.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so he talks to the room, somebody answers him or something answers him in the room. He goes to look for it, and then he goes back to the table. He's like, I must be imagining things. He goes to grab the liquor jug, and it's stuck to the table. And as he's trying to pry it, he trips backwards and falls, and he gets knocked unconscious.
Well, I mean, that's an incredible series of events. He should go to the hospital now to check for a concussion.
Yeah, that's what my notes say, but he does not do that. He wakes
no, of course
up.
Not.
He seeks no medical care for the fact that he fell unconscious from a fall.
While drinking.
He has a hardcore concussion, and he wakes up and seems to assume it's the one sip of alcohol that he had, which is mind-boggling to me.
Danielle, are we just killjoys? Every time someone hits their head, we're like, they should go to the hospital. Is that just us?
He got knocked unconscious. I've hit my head and not gone to the hospital because I wasn't knocked unconscious.
That's fair.
So to his surprise, as he gets up, he hears snoring. And when he goes to search, he startles something or someone, and it jets out of the house unseen.
So something fell asleep in the house and then sprang to life and vanished.
Yeah, he knocks over the jug of liquor that's now empty, and it startles and it runs out of the house. But he only sees the corner of it, or out of the corner of his eye.
Are you sure this isn't one of the leprechaun horror / comedy movies?
Could be. We'll find out.
Okay.
It's the magical leprechauns, Sam. Again, I forgot the title immediately. The magical legend of the leprechauns.
Look, I don't know if you've seen the leprechaun movies, Danielle, but they're pretty magical.
So he follows this thing, this creature, this being, whatever it is, into the woods and realizes it's fallen into the fast-moving creek. Unwillingly, he jumps in and pulls the log. It's attached to a log, and he pulls the log out of the creek. And as he pulls it out of the water, he realizes it's a tiny little human.
It's a leprechaun. Yay!
He gets startled, and the little human runs off, disappearing. But he follows its wet footprints into the house, and it goes inside. It disappears literally.
Why does it keep going to his house? If you're trying to get away from the guy, don't run into his house.
We'll find out, Sam. Sort of.
Sort of. Great.
He seems unconcerned that this thing is invisible. He's just walking around. He's watching the little footsteps, so he knows this thing's invisible. He seems not concerned about this at all. And he sees wet dripping drops in the corner, so he knows something's standing there. So he takes a spoon and he starts poking the spot. And it causes the little person to turn into visible.
What?
He was invisible. Now he's visible.
Sure. I don't understand these powers, but we'll just go for it.
He's an invisible little creature, Sam.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a little man. He's all in green. He's a leprechaun.
I got that. Not a surprise.
He introduces himself as Mickey Muldoon. He's played by Colm Meaney.
Oh,
yeah,
really? Colm Meaney?
Yes.
They isn't he giant though?
Yes, but he's only 2 feet tall in the story.
Now, is this bad CG or forced perspective stuff?
It is not bad CG. It could be forced perspective. I'm not sure how they did the shots. There's a couple of bad CGI scenes later, but not specifically. I believe the leprechauns look like they're there talking to the adults. All in all, I've seen worse.
Okay, decent compositing. That's good to hear. I'm glad they didn't do Colm Meaney dirty in this.
Yeah, for 1999, not bad.
Yeah.
So Colm Meaney starts talking to someone invisible, and then a small woman appears as well. It's his wife, Mary Muldoon, played by Zoe Wanamaker.
I don't know that one, sorry.
You probably would if you saw a picture of her.
Okay, cool.
So, of course, Randy thinks he's losing it, because you would if you saw two little people talking to each other.
Well, in your house, yeah, sure.
So they explain that they're in his debt because he saved Seamus, and they're pretty much immortal aside from water. I guess water's the big bad in their lives.
So, he could throw them into the fireplace, they're fine. Yes. He could, smash their heads on the table, fine. But they get a little wet. They're like, I'm melting!
Yeah, you think that would come into play a little bit more than it does? It does not.
Okay, great. Got to know.
Does not matter. Does not matter that they're immortal aside from water. And somehow that they're in his debt for life, and this seems legally binding. He tries to Randy's like, no, I'm good, thanks. And he's like, nope, legally binding. We have to be in your debt.
Yeah, we've all seen Star Wars. We know what a life debt is.
And they explain, this scene or later, they explain that they live in his house.
So
they're sharing
squatters?
accommodations. I think it's just that's their property. And the owner of the house seems to know that because he's being very sketchy earlier about, no, nothing lives here. Totally, this is your house now.
This is why you can't trust lords.
Yep.
Among many reasons.
So they then introduce him to Mickey, their son. And so he's met the whole Leprechaun Muldoon family.
Yep. All right. We've got leprechauns in the Leprechaun movie. Shocker.
So Randy, of course, seems like he's about to have an aneurysm as Mickey goes off to make some mischief, which is like what they're supposed to do. It's a whole part of their culture. So the dad like gives him some money and is like, you go spend that on girls in trouble.
Whoopee cushions. Like, what? Like, no offense to the leprechaun culture. I want to be respectful. But like, if your whole culture is just annoying other people, I don't know if that's, like, great. That's all.
I mean, I can't tell you, Sam, but they definitely annoy other people.
Yeah, so, like, maybe you might want to revise your manifesto there, Mickey.
Mickey didn't make the leprechaun rules up.
Well, he could start a new generation, you know? He doesn't have to just be tied to tradition.
He could, but he doesn't. So Mickey goes out to hang out with his friends, one of which is played by Kieran Culkin. So that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, Kieran, he's in a lot of things these days.
It's a little group of them, you know, and they're deciding what they're going to do for the day. And they point out a horse riding off in the distance. They're walking through fields. They act like these people, these leprechauns, travel all over the place. They're like 2 feet high. How far are they traveling in a given day? I mean,
who cares? They're magic. No, they can apparently teleport. They're fine. I mean, if Colm Meaney's there, they can definitely teleport.
They can definitely teleport.
Or transport, sorry.
We all know what you were talking about.
But something came after me in the comments, I'm sure.
So anyway, horse riding off in the distance. It's got a skull face and a headless rider. Its whip seems to be a spine, which is pretty cool.
Okay. So he's got the headless horseman?
Yeah,
sure.
It's some kind of, there's like I said, a lot of Irish creatures that show up in this. They ask him how it's going for him as he rides up, and he has like a head that he carries in his hands, and it's green and has pointy ears, and it talks for him. And he tells them it's been too peaceful, and they offer to stir things up for him, but he tells them that the Grand Banshee has prohibited them from fighting.
Of course there's a Grand Banshee. They're all grand.
They're all grand. You'll love the Grand Banshee.
Will I?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'm genuinely excited.
The leprechauns seemed unconcerned by this decree. Obviously, the Grand Banshee seems to be in charge of them all somehow, but they're like, whatevs, we're leprechauns.
We do what we want.
So as they're wandering the hills, a band of fairies descend from the sky.
Like, everything's just coming at you so fast in this movie.
Oh my gosh, this movie, I should have prefaced before we started. This movie cuts between scenes like nobody's business. And everything's just short little scenes, and then you jump to the other thing, and then you jump back, and then you jump here, and you jump back. So sometimes my notes are a little disconnected, and I apologize in advance. Not my fault. It's the movie.
All right.
I tried to make it coherent.
I'll be the judge of that.
So all the fairies are like tall, blonde, and this group in particular is all male. And one of the leprechauns is like, it's Count Grogan. They call him the first of the fairy fools.
Sure. There's like a rivalry between the fairies and the leprechauns.
100%. There's bad
It's like the dwarves and the elves in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, this is very like Rumble Snaps, West Side Story, two sides against each other.
Two houses, both alike in dignity.
Exactly that. They both seem to like somehow run the world a little bit behind the scenes, which we'll get into. And there's bad blood between these two groups. And so they immediately start getting into fights, and they like pull out their magic staffs and they start like hitting each other, and they get into this big all out
magic staffs
war. They do. They have magic staffs. So the fairies have like pink and blue ones, and they like shake them and they become like long staffs, and they're all twisted like, I don't know, they look like fancy magic unicorn horns or something.
Sure. Okay.
And then
why are you telling me about like them rumble snapping when you have these magic staffs you can be telling me about, Danielle?
I am telling you about them right now. And then the
after I asked.
The leprechauns are much more rustic, so they just have like normal walking sticks that they're using. So the two are like in a battle. Okay,
that's interesting.
And it's like the fairies are all shiny in their costumes, and the leprechauns are very much more nature-based. They have like little acorns for hats, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Sure. Cute. Very adorable.
So they, like I said, get into this fight. The leprechauns eventually peace out, and they catch a tractor ride home, like leaving the fairies in the dust behind them.
There's your answer, Danielle, how to get around tractors.
Tractors. Meanwhile, Randy still thinks he's imagined the whole thing, but the leprechauns just like keep popping up into existence around him. And Seamus thankfully explains for absolutely no reason. It is very out of the blue what the war is between the trooping fairies, as they call them, quote unquote, and who seem to be in charge of nature itself. They're in charge of
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, they're in charge of like the seasons, making sure the leaves have trees, all of that good stuff. Trees have leaves. So
the elves are in charge of nature, and the leprechauns are in charge of being jerks. So they're at war, obviously.
Well, leprechauns apparently are like also tied into the earth somehow, but they are not like actively making nature. No.
I'm just saying, this seems like a lopsided power struggle is all.
But they're natural enemies, apparently, because they think the fairies think they're better than everyone else because they make trees.
To be fair, if I was in charge of nature itself and you were a guy who liked to, like, pull dumb pranks like a YouTuber, I would feel pretty superior.
That's totally fair. And the best part is that the scene cuts to a giant castle floating in the sky above a field, and you like zoom in and you see a big workshop where all the fairies are literally creating nature. They're like,
yeah,
putting like branches on trees and like leaves and painting.
It sounds to me like the elves might. I mean, no, I don't want to say it, but I'm siding with the elves. I'm sorry,
the fairies.
Or whatever. They're basically the same thing. Sorry, Irish folklore, I'm going to get that wrong because you described them exactly as elves in, like, media, so.
And interestingly, the subtitles spelled it Fairy the entire time, and I, for the life of me, could not believe that these, like, majestic, stuck-up-in-their-butt characters were spelled Fairy. It was definitely
like
Feer. Yeah, I was like, all my notes say that. I was like, no way. They're no
definitely
way.
the fae folk.
Yeah, I was like, they are not regular fairies. The
100%.
The count who was in the fight earlier has returned home and apparently explained to the king and queen what went down, which I don't know why you would be like, we got into rumble snaps and they were mean to us.
Aww.
Which is basically what he tells them. The king I think it's the king, somebody, it might be like one of the counselors, wonders if they can just talk to the leprechaun, make a kind of like a little peace treaty. And everyone's like, no, we can't do that. They're troublemakers. That'll never work.
Professionally troublemakers.
So as they approach their throne room, a crier calls out that the Grand Banshee has arrived.
So how does she fit into this whole cosmology?
I don't know. She's in charge. Don't ask me why, or how, or when.
Okay, cool.
Or
all right.
what she even does. It's very unclear.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, is she like one of the Fae that like elevated, or is she just something else and there's even more powerful? Like, we control nature, but you control the heavens or what? I don't know.
This movie seems to suggest that like all of them are some type of fae folk, right? The leprechauns and the fairies. Sure. And so I assume she must be some greater fae, but I don't know where she got her power from, why they listened to her, if she was an elected position. She seems to be the only one of her kind. Like, she is just
Is she
in
the
charge.
only banshee?
She's the Grand Banshee, so let's assume that there are other banshees, but you don't see any other banshees during this. You only
wild
see her.
Stuff. Now, no Bogarts or Selkies or what? We get them all together, but no more banshees.
Yeah, you see a bunch of other things. I don't know if you see Selkies. I don't remember.
I like Selkies. I'm gonna put it out there. Big fan.
There are a bunch of other creatures that you see. I mentioned a couple of them, but I did not go into detail. But this goes hard for the like Irish folklore, and you see a lot of them as little like CGI characters around.
Ladies who can take their skin off and become seals, or vice versa. I mean, like, big fan. What's up to love about that?
Anyway, the Grand Banshee has arrived, Sam.
Oh yeah, sorry, we forgot about her.
And a bird flies into the castle, and it CGI turns into a woman, or more specifically, it turns into Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes! Finally, the Randy Quaid Whoopi Goldberg crossover I've been dreaming of.
6 Degrees is so much easier now.
Wait, who plays she's the Grand Banshee?
She's the Grand Banshee.
She's the Grand Banshee, all right. And she turns into a bird. Is that a thing that banshees can do? I don't know about banshees very much.
I was like, why?
Can't banshees, like, do they need to turn into birds to fly? I thought they could fly anyway.
Gosh, I don't know.
Somebody who knows actually about Irish folklore who's demonstrably not us. So we're going to apologize in advance for anything that we say that is completely wrong. Let us know. Do banshees turn into birds? Is that a common thing or not? Like, I can't help but think about like, vampires turning into bats.
Yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, Whoopi Goldberg, she with absolutely no Irish accent and a very questionable wig.
Wait. Did Randy Quaid do an Irish accent?
No, he's American, remember?
Oh, that's right, of course. Sorry.
So he doesn't have to.
Maybe the Grand Banshee is too.
No, because we'll find out a little bit more about her later, and I think she's supposed to be Irish, but she is not in this scene. No. She's definitely just Whoopi Goldberg being Whoopi Goldberg.
Look, I gotta say, it's always funny when, like, Sean Connery or Whoopi Goldberg, whoever, like, doesn't do an accent for whatever they're doing, but on the other hand, I kind of prefer to them doing a bad accent. Like, that seems worse.
Yeah, well, wait for it. Anyway, no Irish accent, questionable wig, tells them that she decreed there'd be no fighting. So what's going on with the leprechauns and fairies going to town earlier? She says that much more dramatically than I did. So
does she have no, like, enforcement mechanism? Because, like, does she have an army, a police force?
We're going to get into this. There's a lot. Okay. This movie starts out kind of slow, and then you're like, what?
Okay, all right.
So the fairies, of course, immediately blame the leprechauns. And she's like, I'm all seeing. I know what happened. So let's not go down that road. And that if they don't shape up, they will pay, quote, the ultimate price. And apparently they, quote, know what that means. We don't.
$5.
That might be a lot for a fairy. I don't know.
I don't know, Danielle. Like,
1999, $5 was worth a lot of money back then.
I guess they would. Is this? What part of Ireland is supposed to take place in?
Kerry.
Okay, I don't know where that is. I'm sorry.
I want to say the South.
All right. Well, let's just leave that all behind because 1999, oof. Let's move on. We are not qualified to discuss
it's
any
the
of that.
southwest coast of Ireland.
I'm sure it's beautiful.
Yeah, actually, it is very pretty. I drove through there because I have not explored the South that much, but I've explored the rest of Ireland, but I did drive through the South.
Oh, Danielle is the real expert here.
I do like Ireland.
What's not to like? It's beautiful. The Emerald Isle.
I don't know their folkloric culture as well, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we're learning, Danielle. This is a documentary, right?
So meanwhile, back in the field with Seamus, they are overlooking a little cottage with like him and Randy. And Seamus is like, the old Fitzpatrick place, home to the lovely Kathleen. And Randy's like, oh, does she happen to have brown hair, lovely green eyes? I'm pretty
naked in the river a lot.
Like, I don't know anything. He's like, I think I saw her bathing by the waterfall. And Seamus is like, oh yeah, sometimes there's an advantage to being invisible. Ew, Seamus.
No. Bad. No biscuit for you.
Bad Seamus. Randy pulled out his Polaroid camera. He's taking photos of like the...
Did you take a picture of the lady naked in the
No,
river?
He didn't have his camera then.
Okay, good. I'm about to be very horrified.
Give it time. So he pulls out his Polaroid camera. It's not that bad, don't worry. So he's taking photos of the house and just kind of the surrounding countryside. And then
what's his job? Is this a business trip? What's he...
We'll find out. But this whole, the whole first quarter of this is just like, what's his mystery job? They obviously are playing it as like a secret. You'll
catch on. Is he just like a photographer for a magazine or something?
No, you'll catch on as we go about. I promise, because I caught on. So you're going to catch on.
Is he a land developer and they have to do like an Irish version of a ski race to save the local community center?
Yes, that's what's happening.
Okay,
so then he's taking photos. He just literally just wanders up to their property. Like, it's sitting right there, right? He's like, oh, that's Fitzpatrick's place. That's where Kathleen lives. He just wanders up to the property. He is on their property, like, wandering through their barns, like, taking photos. Like, no big deal. I totally should be on somebody's literal not their grassy outland, their literal home property.
Yeah, no, that's not okay. You don't take photos of people's property even when you're not wandering through it.
It's bizarre. And then he like peeks around a corner because he hears somebody and he sees Kathleen playing with a dog in the yard and he watches her from behind a tree.
Oh gosh, no.
And then the camera accidentally goes off. It's like it's hanging in his hand. It does genuinely accidentally go off. It's not like he took a picture. And she looks up. Sure. I know. She looks up and sees him, and she yells for her brothers that the peeping Tom is back, and I'm on her side.
Yeah, she is correct. This dude is... The first time, he's unfamiliar, he got lost, he should not have watched, but more excusable. This time, no excuse. None at all.
Yeah, he just walks up to her property. It's not like he just came across her. He walks up on her property. Crazy. So the brothers like pop out. There's, I think, 4 of them. They chase him down the property line, and he makes his way through the edge of town. He makes his way into a church that's having a service, and they all rush in, but the ancient priest tells them to sit down. And then after the sermon, he goes up to chat with the priest, to keep like, you can't do anything to me while I'm in here, so I'm going to make this last as long as possible. And for some reason, that like convinces the brothers and Kathleen to wander off. Like they've just been there too long. They're not going to put any more effort into following this guy.
This is very Highlander, where like, we can't fight on holy ground, Highlander.
Except this time the priest was like, sit! So cut to Randy heading to the local fair in a field, I guess. Just like I said, there's a lot of cuts in this movie.
Sure. 10 years later, 15, who knows?
No, next day, same day, week from now, don't know. He comes across the priest tossing rings at a game, like a ring toss game.
That's where you toss rings, yes.
Yes, and Seamus is like with him, but invisible. And he's like, hey, that game's rigged, just so you know. Like, nobody's ever going to win that game. But if you want to toss for the priest, like, we'll help you out, and you can get on the good side for the priest. And so it's
very kind of those leprechauns to cause no mischief.
Remember, they're supposed to help him for the rest of his life.
That's right. That's pretty cool. I mean, honestly, pull a guy out of a river and you get a magical helper to make your life better forever. Not a bad deal.
I know. So Randy takes the ring, he tosses it, and the leprechaun, like,
walks
invisible,
it over.
he like basically like squishes it down so it fits around the square box that it's supposed to go onto. And he wins. He lets the priest win the prize. So the priest, of course, thinks there's like some kind of divine intervention because he's been playing the game forever and has never won. And
a racket.
He's very pleased. And meanwhile, Kathleen has walked up and tries to tell the priest that Randy is the man she was telling him about, the peeping Tom. And in a startling parallel to every accusation from a woman ever, the priest says, he's like, well, that's a serious accusation. Randy, is that true? And Randy's like, no. And the priest is like, see, he said no. I'm an impeccable judge of character. This is over. This argument's over. And he just like walks off.
No, the patriarchy.
It's so bad. I was like, bleh.
Look, he may not be like a full-blown pervert, but he does have some, things to answer for.
Well, and then this is like a smaller version of a larger problem.
Of course. Like, I'm not even getting into that, but yeah, absolutely.
So the priest walks off. Randy tries to tell her it was all just a misunderstanding, but she's still mad at him, validly.
Yeah.
Back with Mickey, and he's with his friends. They're riding sheep for funsies. Very, like, animatronic sheep. Very funny. And then head into a bar to think up more mischief.
So riding sheep was their big mischief for the day? Cool.
It's pretty fun. It's a fun scene.
It sounds fun, but I'm like, that don't really strike me as tremendous amounts of mischief. Like, good job, guys. You're really sowing the seeds of mischievousness and wonder amongst the people. Riding sheep. That no one can see you doing it.
I don't know what they do as adults. Like, after they grow out of this, they just there's mischief makers. I don't know. It's unclear what the leprechauns do as, like,
is this like their like Rumspringa, is what you're saying?
I don't know. So they agree as a group that they're going to crash the grand mitzvah ball.
Mitzvah?
Mitzvah. M-I-T-Z-M-A.
Okay, that's very different than the grand mitzvah.
Grand mitzvah ball up at the fairy castle, disregarding the Great Banshee's decree, per usual.
Oh, that should go over well.
Yeah. And then there's like a musical dance number with Irish dancing, because why not? They're in a bar.
Hey, I love me some Irish dance. Let's go. Let's do it.
Oh, then you would like this show. There are several scenes.
You know what? Based on what you've told me so far, I think I would find this very entertaining and be very confused.
So good news. The ball seems to be a masquerade. So they jump a few fairy and steal their masks, which are...
Yeah, but they're like 2 feet tall compared to the fairies. How are they going to blend in?
They're all the same size. They're all the same size.
Oh. The fairy...
Everybody's the same size.
Oh, I assume, again, I had the whole picture of Lord of the Rings elf-style elves in my head where they were, like, tall and...
Nope,
okay, my mistake. I'm sorry.
Same size. And
that's me. My bad.
So they jump them. They steal their outfits, steal their masks, which are made to look like leprechaun faces with like red hair and long noses, which is so interesting.
No, it's bad. A bad choice.
And their invitations. And I guess they don't have wings, right? Fairies have wings. We've only seen fairies with wings. No, we've only seen fairies with wings. And I guess
so far in this movie or just in general in life?
There are castles in the sky. So, like, do they have an elevator for the non-fairy?
No, they turn to birds, Danielle.
No, the Grand Banshee does, Sam.
Yeah, they can all turn to birds. It's just like what they can do. I don't know.
No. Anyway, I guess them not having wings doesn't matter. So they go up to the castle. They ride a bubble that a frog creates up to the castle.
Everything you've said makes perfect sense so far. It doesn't look like you're having a stroke at all.
They just like walk up to this frog and they're like, all right, give us the bubble.
Going up.
They ride this bubble, and there are some fairies there without wings. I can't decide if there are fairies that just don't have wings or if they only appear when they jump into the sky or whatever.
Oh, they have like retractable wings like a beetle.
Yes, that seems to be what's happening because occasionally you see scenes with them having wings and occasionally they'll come back to the ground and the wings disappear. And I'm sure it was to save on a budget so you didn't have to have wings on these people 24/7.
I like that personally.
And so they're dancing and they're, causing some minor havoc, nothing too major. And then, Mickey sees the fairy princess Jessica across the room and falls instantly in love.
Boo, you didn't even touch her hand like they do in Cinderella.
They do touch hands briefly later.
Oh, yeah, but until that point, they shouldn't be in love, as we've established.
Yeah, it's a problem. Back with Randy, he's chilling with the leprechauns, looking at his photos, and he explains to them that he's here for a job, not just to rest, and taking pictures is part of the job. But enough about that. What's the story with Kathleen?
Gosh, dude, she thinks you're a creep. Lay off her. If I were you, if this was me in that situation, or let's assume well-intentioned misunderstanding, I'd be on my best behavior to give this woman a wide berth to let her, she clearly doesn't want to be around me. I'm not going to, stalk her through leprechauns.
Yeah. Well, that's not what's going to happen. So,
oh, no.
The leprechauns don't fill him in on anything, but they do tell him not to mention their existence to the brothers of Kathleen, or they'll want to catch them for their pots of gold, which are just nonsense fairy tales. They don't exist, because if they existed, they wouldn't live there.
Also, if they caught them, wouldn't they have to, life debt them or something? Is that part of it?
All I know is that if you catch the leprechaun, you supposedly can request a pot of gold.
All right, well, sure, why not? That's not how the story always goes, I suppose.
Yeah. Back at the castle, Mickey is doing his best to flirt with the glowy blue-eyed fairy who doesn't blink. She is she has this face. Princess Jessica has glowing blue eyes. That was a choice they made. And
love it. So she looks like a Terminator or something.
Yeah, she has glowy blue eyes. And she just doesn't blink a lot as an actress. And so it's creepy.
So they CG'd glowy eyes on her, and she doesn't blink. Maybe the lack of blinking is part of the CG or something.
Yeah, it weirds me out. I felt like she had crazy eyes.
That's why Mickey likes. She's like, I bet she caused a lot of mischief. I'm into that.
So they hit it off, and she wants him. They are dancing and stuff. They head out to the balcony, and she wants him to take his mask off so she can see what he really looks like.
Ooh, on the first date, you want me to take my mask off?
And he's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And she's like, no, you've got to. I need to know which fairy is my suitor, And he decides that he is going to take off his mask, and so he does.
Uh-oh.
And she's like, oh no, you're a leprechaun. But he wins her over immediately, so it's fine. It's not a problem.
How do you win her over? Just be like, I'm so charming?
Yes, 100%. Okay. I'm charming and flirty, and aren't I just the best? And she's like, yes, you are. He's pretty charming, I mean.
I'm sure. But, also, there's a lot of deception in these relationships starting out. With Randy and Jessica and now this, can a relationship start in an honest fashion in any movie?
No.
Okay, well, gotta answer that.
So, unfortunately, the Count seems to realize that leprechauns are up to no good and that they're at the
Count?
dance.
Dracula's there?
No, Count Grogan or whatever his name was. The guy who was in the fight earlier with them.
I like my version better.
So he realizes, he suspects that some of the people there are leprechauns. And so they make up this plan. Then they announce to the crowd that they are going to unmask at the stroke of midnight. And luckily midnight's like 12 counts away. So they all start counting to 12. They're going to unmask at the stroke of midnight so you can see who you were dancing with. But it's really to show the leprechauns.
I've never been to a masquerade ball. I mean, I've been to like a masked murder mystery party once. Mm-hmm. And it was not hard to tell who anyone was with the little masks that we had because we all like knew each other already. So is anyone like actually deceived by masks at masquerade balls, or is it just like a fun dress up thing?
Well, I mean, this is the entire population of fairies, so... Well, they're not super large. Like, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of them, if not more.
Okay. All right.
Because I don't want to spoil that. So, no, you see crowds of them later other than at the ball. And there's like, there's quite a few of them.
I was just wondering how actual...
I think you'd probably be you'd probably know people by sight. But maybe if they had masks on, you wouldn't know especially because they're all like blonde and tall.
They all look the same? Racist?
Yeah, they're like... yeah, there's a variety, but like the ones you see are mostly blonde. Like they were going for ethereal or whatever, and that was their version of it.
All right.
So anyway, the leprechauns have 12 seconds to leave, and they absolutely could because everything's going in slow motion. So they could have snuck out during this, but they're leprechauns. So they unmask as well at the count of 12. And they're like, haha, we're leprechauns. We spoiled your party.
How is that just being there spoiling the party?
Because they were like playing little tricks and dancing with the fairies and just being generally mischief makers. They weren't doing anything totally crazy.
They're just being a little obnoxious.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody gasps, oh my gosh, there's leprechauns at the fairy party. How did they even get up here? They must have ridden the toad. Like, what?
Actually, like, conversation happens. They actually say, like, how'd they get in here? Okay.
But also, how did they get in there? It's like there is a castle in the sky, so that's pretty impressive. They don't fly.
Danielle, the toad is there for a reason.
I could
maybe
not
if a
tell.
fairy is like, hey, I'm so tired to fly up to the castle. Toad, give me a lift.
I'm going to be honest. I could not tell if the toad was part of it. Like, he often provides rides and uses bubbles. Or he was just like there by coincidence. There and they were like, oh, cool. A toad. They can create bubbles that will send us into the sky. It was unclear.
Fair enough.
So
I like the toad is just like the doorman. He's always there.
At first I thought that's what was happening, but then he gave them a bubble and I was like, nope, I don't know what's happening.
The bubble really changed everything for you, Danielle.
It did. Because they're like, wow, that's a big frog.
Okay.
Anyway, as like I said, everyone gasps. There's like a little scene that happens that distracts some of the people. They all turn away, and so they jump out the window to get away. And they get to the edge of the castle, and then just as they're deciding, like, what do we do? You know, we're like up in the sky. Do we just jump? Like, we're gonna die if we jump off this. They're not going to die because they're immortal, but...
They're magic, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how to get down from the castle. But then suddenly, Mickey starts to float. And he's like, what the heck?
The frog! No, it's obviously the princess.
And one of the leprechauns tells him he must be in love because that's the sign. And I think they mean that literally. It's a thing that happens in leprechaun society. They start to float when they're in love. But get this, you never see another person floating. Or none of the other leprechauns in love.
In Leprechaun world, yeah. Is
it just the start of love? Like, I don't know.
Like the butterflies stage?
Yeah, like it's unclear. So they all grab a hold of him.
That's real depressing. I gotta be honest.
Float down. I know. I was like, I figured it might come up later, or maybe you'd see someone else. No, you never see it ever again. It's just Mickey.
What a bleak picture of leprechaun domestic life. Like, Colm Meaney and his bride never float. So do they love each other? Probably not.
I mean, they're just in a marriage of convenience. They kind of act like they don't like each other. So that's a possibility.
Oh no.
So they all grab them, they float down, and somehow this stops the fairies from following them, even though they have wings. So I do not know why that would stop them.
They're purely decorative, Danielle.
They aren't. You see them flying all over the place.
That's just so they're all in love, I guess. Maybe the fairies are all in love.
The next morning, I assume, Randy is out there practicing his golf swing and suggests to Seamus that the area would be a really lovely golf course because people from all over would come to experience it.
I knew he was a developer.
Seamus has no idea what he's talking about because, they don't play golf.
Golf is from Scotland, not from... I'm kidding.
And Randy sounds a little off about it. But, Seamus is like, you doing okay, buddy? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Who knows? Mickey arrives home after his night out, so it must be the next morning, and tells his parents all about the fairy. And they are anti this drama. They're like, no,
of course.
You should definitely not fall in love with a fairy, because that's the bad idea.
I mean, you can't really tell someone who to fall in love with, to be fair.
Oh, they have that argument. That's a whole argument that they have. And he's like, you should listen to your father. You didn't listen to your father. That doesn't matter. Listen to me. It's a whole, like, there's a lot of comedy in this.
Yeah.
So they tell him to stay away from her or they'll disown him. That does not actually happen.
Of course not. Neither of those things happens.
Yeah. Cut to the Ballycombe annual beach race, which is a horse cart race on the beach. They won't allow Kathleen to race because she's a girl. Doesn't matter that she's got a great horse.
Weak! The patriarchy in this movie sucks!
She asks for a man to race for her, and the brothers, like, start making little signs at anybody who starts to stand up, like, absolutely, you cannot do that. And I can't decide if patriarchy, like, are the brothers just being jerks, or do they think that her horse would win against them? Also patriarchy?
Oh. So they're competing against her and don't want anyone to race for her.
Correct.
Either because they don't want to be beaten or because it's like a courting thing.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're not allowed, you're not allowed, you're not allowed.
That is not great. We all know who's going to be chosen, though, obviously.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Randy
the
steps
priest.
up.
Oh, okay.
With no experience ever on a horse to be her man.
That's my second guess.
Randy, shockingly, manages to win this race, so Kathleen seems to forgive him almost immediately.
No, Kathleen, stick to your guns.
Nope, she's very excited her horse won, and she's willing to give Randy a pass.
Boo.
They have a nice chat as they walk off the beach, and Randy asks if she'll show him around the countryside because he's taking pictures. And she takes him out the next morning and asks him what he does for work. And he says he's the executive vice president in charge of coordination for Sperry, Sperry, and McGurk, which is a law firm. I don't know. He tells her if he puts this deal together that he's working on, he'll be senior vice president.
Dude needs to unplug. Touch grass.
The best part of this, and I'm not sure if it's on purpose or not, is that this cuts between many things. Like they're walking like in this area, then suddenly they're walking in this area, and then suddenly they're walking along the beach, and he's still talking about his job, and I can't decide.
And like hours and hours of him going off and off about his job.
That's what it felt like as a viewer, and I was like, I wonder if that's on purpose, or are they just showing local areas and they didn't realize
if
how
I were
that came
her,
across.
I'd be miserable. I'd be like, stop talking about yourself, you self-centered buffoon.
Well, it's all the same, like, sentence. You know how, like, it just goes in between multiple locales?
Yeah, I know. I know how movies do that.
So very
but
weird.
The reality of that is
hours of him talking about his job.
Yeah.
And the best part is she clearly has no interest in his long-winded description because she like interrupts him to excitedly show him a seashell that she found along the beach.
Hey, stop talking. Here's the seashell. It'll shut you up. And
I was laughing. It was a very funny scene, and I don't think it was supposed to be as funny as I thought it was. And then she does, there's like a little montage of her showing him, I don't know, a whole new world. And so she's like walking him through all the backwoods of
Danielle?
Ireland. No, she has him eat wild blackberries for the first time and makes him question his lifestyle. And it's hard to imagine that he's never seen a wild blackberry, but apparently he hasn't.
I mean, they're not invading everywhere, I guess.
I mean,
in your area, maybe they're everywhere, but maybe they're not like in Idaho.
No, to be fair, he grew up in Arizona, then moved to New York City, so he probably hasn't seen a blackberry.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
He acts like nature is like a brand new thing to him, but then later on in the movie, he's like, well, I've climbed before. I'm like, climbed where? You acted like
climbed
you've never
on a horse,
seen a
apparently.
beach. Like, it was so weird.
Dude is both sheltered and knowledgeable. Yeah, real enigma.
Anyway, like I said, all new to him, but he manages to score a kiss at the end of the day. Yeah.
How? Maybe she's like, maybe this will shut him up.
Meanwhile, the leprechauns are trying to convince Mickey that there's no way Princess Jessica is going to want to live the leprechaun lifestyle, which is fair.
Why does she have to change for him?
I don't know. In fact, she's a princess, so you think he'd have to change for her because he's going to have to, like, go live up in the castle and do prince things.
Yeah, Cinderella didn't get Prince What's-His-Name to live with her in her hovel.
She didn't want to be there anyway.
Well, I'm just saying.
They could split time. I don't know how it works, Sam.
Look, I've watched trailers movies, Danielle. I don't know how it works either.
So they're having a big discussion about this, and then some terrible CGI, like, talking trees called Oakshies come up to chime in on his love life as well. He's like, yeah, get out of here.
Everyone just butting in trying to tell him how to live his love life.
That
cool.
Feels like Ireland.
Yeah. Have some experience, Danielle?
And back at the castle, Princess Jessica is awaiting Mickey, who can still float, I guess. So
does she sing the infamous song, Mickey, You're So Fine?
There's no singing in this movie, Sam. Characters.
Boo!
I'm sorry. They don't even sing like an Irish melody or something, as far as I can remember.
Well,
like at a campfire or something. So he floats up to her window, and they float outside for a bit. Like, she uses her wings, and they're like out there kissing. And then,
why not?
The guards shockingly see him right outside the castle, and they chase after him.
Flying in the sky, the wide open.
He flies away, and they go after him, shooting him with like these flower shots out of little flower dart gun things. They're not dart guns because they don't actually blow them, but like they shake them and the flowers explode out of them, and like they're going all over the place, and they're like,
that's what?
It's some kind of big, like, it's like a flower thing that comes out and explodes onto things.
You've been explaining things for like 5 minutes. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, flower thing, they shake him like dart guns. They don't shoot them.
Flower guns,
them,
Sam.
but they shake
I don't know.
the
They're
flower.
guns that flowers come out of.
Okay, cool. Let's go with that.
So these are like hitting nature and trees and all that. And he calls out, and what's his face? Mickey calls out for the Oakshies to help him because the flower shots are damaging the trees, and they're trees. So they like rise from the forest, and the Oakshies start punching all the guards for the fairy guards. And
how's the CG here?
It's okay. And Mickey makes his escape. And so he meets up with his friends. But alas, after they leave the bar that they're at, their youngest member has been caught by the trooping fairies and Count Grogan. And they want to fight with Mickey.
Not Count Grogan.
I know. He's terrible.
I suppose.
He's a big old jerk. When you like see him in the movie, he's clearly like trying to start trouble all the time. Not that the leprechauns aren't, but he's like purposely going out of his way.
The leprechaun's whole ethos is to be jerks. So I'm not giving Grogan a pass, but I'm like, on the jerk scale, it doesn't sound like he's,
he's the jerkiest of the fairies.
Oh, yeah, but like, it doesn't sound like the leprechauns are like just innocent bystanders, the subject of his unwanted or unwarranted wrath.
They're not, except that this is mostly told from the leprechaun perspective. So like,
there's your bias.
You're sort of rooting for him, even though you're like, they are jerks though.
Yeah, history is written by the yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So they want to fight with Mickey. Mickey does not want to fight them now that he's in love with Princess Jessica. He's like, no, that seems like a bad idea. Don't want to do that. But Grogan, of course, tries to goad him on. And the others, his best friends, jump in on the fight. Things do not go well for our young leprechauns. And Sean,
this is very like Mercutio or whoever from Romeo and Juliet who gets stabbed.
Ding, ding, ding.
Got it. Yeah.
So it doesn't go well, and Sean, Mickey's best friend, falls to the ground and starts to glow. The Great Banshee arrives, just floating above them for fun.
Sure.
And Sean starts to like slowly disappear from his feet up. And they start freaking out. They're like, he's immortal. What's happening? And the Grand Banshee's like, I warned you that you'd pay the ultimate price. It's not $5.
So why does he
Sam.
pay it? And oh, well, that was I thought that it's a pretty big price.
Sean's the one that started, like, jumped in on the fight. He's the one that took Count Grogan's bait.
Okay, sure.
I have questions about this as well, but that's why he's dying.
You said it like so matter-of-factly, but I'm not buying it.
He's dying. This spurs on Mickey, who attacks the Count, and they get into a fight, and
But he doesn't suffer the ultimate
down.
price.
He absolutely does not, but the Count does.
What?
I know, that was my reaction. I was like, she's just watching this whole thing, and I was like, how come he survives? Mickey, he started a fight too.
Is this just Irish folklore version Romeo and Juliet?
Sort of. On a larger scale. But I didn't want to tell you that ahead of time.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I guess it's not so much like who starts the fight as who just gets wounded in a fight is the person who dies. So
whoever gets wounded gets immediately killed. So it behooves you to start the fight and play dirty.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get like, not just hurt, but like, if you would die as a mortal, that's how you would die now. So basically they're mortal now.
So the ultimate price is
mortality.
Hey, I don't want you guys
Immortality.
fighting, but now I'm going to make it so that when you do fight, you can actually kill your enemies.
I have
so that's going to incentivize you to fight
so many things to say
more.
about this, Sam. We will get into this. I promise you, I have so many things to say.
As much as I like Whoopi Goldberg, her solution here is terrible. I do not think it's an effective or wise choice.
Yes, and it comes up a little bit later. I have big questions. You and I can debate this because I have big questions later on when they explain this a little more.
All right.
Back at the castle, the nurse to Princess Jessica tells her what happened, that her cousin Grogan has been murdered by Mickey.
The nurse? It's gotta be Romeo and Juliet. Come on.
Yeah, it is, 100%. Her parents rush in and want to send her off because to be out of the reaches of Mickey, who's, woo her away, I guess. And the advisor, or whoever he is, to the king and queen suggests that they wait and see what's happening, because if they go to war with the leprechauns, the Grand Banshee will not be messing around with them. They're going to get in really big trouble for that.
I hope this ends with both of them, dead, like in Romeo and Juliet.
And the queen and king are like, whatever, we can do whatever we want. La, 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 la.
I still don't know where the Grand Banshee's authority comes from.
You're not going to find that out in this movie.
Great.
I'm sorry.
No,
and
I don't blame you.
It just gets weirder with time. When we find out more about the Grand Banshee, you're going to be like, what the heck, man?
Looking forward to that.
Back with the leprechauns, the group is obviously feeling pretty down about the fact that, somebody that's been around for hundreds of years has died.
Yeah.
And
Death is not something they're used to if they're functionally immortal.
And they ask Seamus what they're going to do about it. He's like, we're going to go to fight, whether there's a Grand Banshee or not. So he's starting a war, I guess.
Good job, Grand Banshee. Who could not have seen this coming?
Back with Randy, he seems to be having a come to Jesus moment where he realizes he can't do what they want him to do in Ireland, even if it costs him his job.
Okay, Randy, I know. Pave paradise, public parking lot, etc., etc.
Meanwhile, they send Princess Jessica off in a flying taxi, and Mickey...
Sure, what?
It's like one of those, I don't know what they're called, the ones that kings used to sit in, that they pick them up. They have people who
pound cane?
Yeah, and it's one of those, but it's like a flying version of that. So the fairies are flying it through the sky, and she's sitting in there with her nursemaid, and Mickey jumps into it from one of the branches as it goes past secretly. I don't know how they didn't notice it, but he jumps in there.
Right.
they know they think something's wrong, but of course the princess is like, "No, everything's fine in here."
I bet she is. Everything's super fine.
Yeah, she seems deeply unconcerned that he killed her cousin. I don't think she liked him anyway. He was kind of a jerk.
That's a new twist on the formula.
It doesn't even come up. She's just like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you," and they're kissing, and I was like, "He did kill your cousin."
Right? So that's something. The Count Grogan. Grogan, that's it. Thank you.
Nobody cares.
What
it's true.
Sad life. What if everyone's like, Count Grogan's dead? Who cares? That guy sucked.
That's 100% what happens. They're like, well, he was kind of a jerk. Nobody seems particularly upset about it.
Harsh. Very harsh.
So Mickey promises to find her wherever she goes, and she's like, "You can't find me. We're going to a castle under the sea." And he's like, "I totally will." And then they kiss, and the problem is not solved, and he just leaves.
Could she tell him more details about this undersea castle? Maybe how to get there?
No.
What it's called?
Nope.
Maybe give him the name of a friend who could help him?
Nope. Where it is even located in the sea?
Yep.
No.
Sea's pretty big, I'll be honest.
Nope. None of that, Sam.
They're teenagers, all right.
The leprechauns and fairies are now, as I said, starting a war, which feels, as you said, like it wouldn't have happened if the Banshee hadn't made them killable. They're...
Right.
This would not be a problem if they hadn't actually murdered each other. They were just getting into little tiffs.
If you can't kill your enemy, war is meaningless.
Exactly.
Because what are you gonna accomplish? Oh, you stabbed me. All right, let's all go home. Nothing comes from that. So what she should have done is made so they can't talk to each other or something, at least temporarily, or maybe force them to sit down and discuss things. Something along those lines, rather than, just saying, all right, you guys hate each other. Now I'm going to make sure that your actions have bigger consequences for each other.
Nope. She does, the Grand Banshee just seems to know everything and tells them what to do, but does not try to enforce it, does not try to peace mediate, does not do anything.
So she just says, like, here's my decree, and her enforcement mechanism is, if you disobey me, I'm going to allow you to kill the people you don't like.
That is so far what it seems like, yes.
What are you doing, Whoopi? Come on!
I know. It's a real mystery.
This is crazier than, like, what was it? The person who played God in the Muppet Christmas movie.
What happens with God in the Muppet Christmas movie?
Isn't he, like, sending them to, like, deal with Kermit and, like, send the son back in time or whatever? Like, he sent the angel down?
Oh, you mean the other Muppet Christmas, the one I did for the podcast.
Yeah, what do you think I was talking about? You think about
like
Christmas
Muppet
Carol?
Christmas Carol. I was like, there is no God in that.
There's no God, only ghosts. That's what Charles Dickens was really getting at. There's no God, only ghosts to judge you for your actions. That's a better story. No, the very merry Muppet Christmas, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I got it. I'm there. I'm with you. I was just
watching TV
I was like
or
going
whatever.
through the entire like book of Christmas Carol in my head, being like, what are we talking about?
No. I would have said a Muppet Christmas Carol, please.
No, I know, but it just my brain went there. I
Anyway,
kind of forget that I did
version.
that movie, I'll be honest.
I cannot forget it because I'm so angry at Kermit's lack of business acumen.
Totally fair. He totally destroyed them.
Yep.
Anyway, back with Randy. He meets up with Kathleen. She wants to talk it out, I guess. Talk to her. And is interrupted by the guy who showed him the house with a message from New York telling him that he has to get back right away because they haven't heard from him in days and they need to have a big meeting.
They couldn't, I don't know, have a phone call or something. They sent him on this business meeting. Like,
he doesn't have
I'm sure
electricity
he'll get back
at
in
his
touch
house.
with us or something. Yeah, but he has his town nearby. I'm sure there are phones in this, like a hotel or something.
Sure, yeah, 100%. Nope, they want him to come back.
They wouldn't just say, like, you go off, we'll have no way of contacting you, and I'm sure everything will work out.
It's plot pressure, Sam.
It's nonsense, is what it is.
Anyway, they're interrupted as they're talking by a ton of leaves that are just falling from the trees on top of them. And they're like, what the heck? It's like summer. Why are there so many fall? Why are there so many leaves? They're just pouring down like rain.
Okay, sure, fine.
But Randy's like, it's fine. I know a man who knows what's happening. Let's go find him and ask him.
The leprechaun, obviously.
And they rush off to the cottage and he's like calling out for Seamus. Seamus, where are you? And he explains to Kathleen. He explains he does not actually explain to Kathleen. He's just like, yeah, Seamus will know, you know. And she's like, who's Seamus? She's like, who's Seamus? And he's like, you know, the leprechaun, Seamus. He's like he's a well-known neighbor. Know? Like he just acts like it's a totally like, you know who Seamus is.
And didn't Seamus like explicitly tell him not to let their secret out?
Yeah, specifically to the brothers. She didn't say anything.
Yeah,
about
but
Kathleen.
I already think that she would be a conduit to them.
Yeah, I would. I'm with you, Sam. It's like the way he's reacting in the scene is completely mind-boggling.
Insane.
And Kathleen is like, what are you talking about? And then the leprechaun, of course, shows up and she passes out.
Of course.
So once she wakes up, they ask him what's happening with the leaves. And he's like, well, you know, terrible trouble with the fairyland. And I'm going to go. Bye.
Fair enough. Like, this does not involve you, big people.
Mickey, meanwhile, has gone to the sea. As I said, I don't know what his plan is, but it seems to be wandering.
The sea, any sea. He wanders around the Pacific Ocean looking for this castle.
He's just wandering a beach. It's only one beach, Sam. He's wandering a beach. And meanwhile, Princess Jessica is hanging out in her underwater castle. Why do they have an underwater castle?
Danielle, everyone wants to have a flying castle underwater. Who doesn't want an underwater castle? That's a dumb question.
Do they control the sea? How do they get down there? How do they...
Selkies.
Maybe the Selkies help them out. Maybe they have some like peace agreement with the Selkies.
Yeah. I really just want the Selkies to get into this, Danielle, is all I'm saying. I'm all about them. So, Selkies, Kelpies, you name it.
The underwater castle is like this big rock formation or coral formation, perhaps, that's underneath the water and then has little bubbles where they can you can see in and they can see out.
So it's like the fish tank, like a fish tank, like castle you put in for your little goldfish.
It's very good. And meanwhile, on a completely unrelated note, the leprechauns and fairies are marching to war. And they're, coming across the hills in giant waves, which is how I know there are a lot of fairies, Sam.
Sure. Okay. Maybe they recruited them from other lands.
Maybe. Randy tells Kathleen that he's leaving that night on a train. And she wants him to stay, but he's afraid he'll lose his job and not be able to stop the deal if he doesn't go back. And he wants her to come with him.
We haven't established what this deal is yet officially, right?
No, we have not.
Of course.
Their conversation of note keeps getting interrupted by her brothers, who obviously don't like Randy, but
don't blame them.
They're doing this like weird, serious, like weaponized incompetence. Like, where's my shirt? And oh, this dog was sitting on my shirt.
That's too real.
It's like, and I was like, this is so uncomfortable. Even with our thing earlier when she tries to tell the priest that it's the peeping-tom, and I was like, and then she can't ride in the stupid horse thing, and now like,
and then all her brothers are weaponizing incompetence to make her serve them.
And then she's like, well, I don't think I can leave because I have a whole life here and my brothers. I'm like, where's my shirt? And I was like, oh, God, leave.
I would be out of there so fast. That poor woman.
So, and he tells her she's just making a bunch of excuses to stay there. They need me.
They don't. They're full-grown men.
In the background, supposedly, the storm is starting up.
Storm is brewing. That means war.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a parallel to obviously what's going on.
Yeah, obviously.
Then so Randy is like, I can't stay here. I have to go. They get into this big fight. He leaves the house, and as he walks out the door, to his left, the barn just collapses. Like it just, I don't even know why. The barn just collapses to the ground. And it's like a functioning barn, not an old barn. Like a full functioning, they have livestock in there kind of barn.
Leprechauns did it.
It just like crashes to the ground. And I kid you not, Randy just looks at it and walks away.
Insane. Is it a normal thing that happens?
He doesn't even look at it like, oh my God, the barn fell down. He just looks at it and is like, not my problem. And like walks off.
Insane.
As they're coming out and they're like, oh my God, we're like, what's happening? Because it's like, there's obviously a war brewing and stuff is happening. And like, I don't know, the storm destroyed it. I don't know. But the barn completely crashes. He ignores it. It was an insane scene.
That's a wild choice.
He heads to the train station and seems deeply put out that Kathleen does not arrive to get him as he's waiting, even though he watched her barn fall down.
Have they been for 3 days?
Yes.
Also, he's like, why don't you come to America? Abandon your life in Ireland. Like, yes, I think her brothers suck. Put it out there. But also, like, hey, you've known me for 3 days. Abandon your life and come with me to New York is not a reasonable request either.
Agreed. And she already said she wasn't going to follow him, and he just watched her barn fell down and did nothing to help her whatsoever. Yeah. So, like,
his expectations should be rock bottom.
Yeah. But surprise, the train leaves. Randy has decided to stay, and as it pulls away, we see Kathleen with her bag in hand. She was late to the train, but she was planning to go. And I
Kathleen,
was like, no, don't do it.
She deserves better than all of this.
They're such an odd couple. The leprechauns march en masse to a large field, and the fairies descend from the sky. For reasons, the fairies take it to the ground for a land fight, which seems
They could just drop rocks on them from the sky. It'd be fine.
Blow fire. I don't know. They could do anything from the sky.
They have flower guns of some kind that are still a mystery to me.
What is the strategy? Why would you you have the air. Why would you bring it to the ground?
Air superiority. They can blitzkrieg this.
Just the minute they landed on the ground, I was like, why?
Yeah, no, insane.
So as the fight wears on, you hear a voiceover of the fairy court arguing over going to war. One of them asks what will happen to nature if they're all fighting, and the king and queen are like, we don't have time for nature. Nature will take care of itself. And as the warriors...
Then what's your point? Why do you even exist?
And as the warriors fight, the flowers start to turn black in the fields.
So if the fairy fight, the nature dies. If the leprechaun fight, everyone else's lives get better.
It seems to suggest that both fighting is causing the problem. Don't ask me how leprechauns are involved. Don't know.
That was my question.
But they are apparently some kind of part of this ecosystem.
Balance. Yeah.
I don't know how, but it is. For some reason, and it's very unclear in the scene, that both sides blow like fall back trumpets, which seems to signal it's time to go home for the day. And they just like wrap up their fight and head out.
Why not?
And the Grand Banshee just watches from the sky, sadly.
So, Grand Banshee, your plan working out so well for you right now?
All the dead people glow and disappear. So that's good.
If they all just come back at the end of the movie, but the Grand Banshee Cree's like, you've all learned your lesson, everyone's back, I'll be very upset.
Well, we'll find out. Kathleen and Randy are hanging out when Seamus appears, telling him about the war. Like, hey, like, we didn't do super hot during this first battle. And I remember you saying that you were in the armed forces. Like, any chance you want to help train the leprechauns?
So, is this going to be like Randy Quaid drill instructor?
Kind of. And he's like, well, oh, by the way, there's like a fight tomorrow, I think is like the timeline on this.
Oh, that's not enough time. That's not enough time.
And Randy's hesitant, as one should be, when he has no idea what's going on between the fairies and leprechauns. And like, how do you even know you're on the right side? You have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, back on the beach, as Mickey roams, he, of course, happens
For
upon...
days, walking back and forth across the same beach, expecting something to happen.
That's exactly what's happening. It's the same shot. It's the same beach.
Come on, buddy.
He happens upon a troop of fairies and sees them descend from the sky into a cave. So he follows them, he knocks them out, and he makes his way into the castle, I guess somehow through the cave. You don't see that part, which...
So the underwater castle is accessible through a cave?
Yeah,
Is it an underground castle? I don't know.
It's under the water. Like, you see a scene of her standing at one of the bubbles, Francesca, and she's like petting the little sea creatures that are swimming by.
That's very cute.
She's like, oh, hello, little fishes.
You know what? Danielle, I figured it out. Her glowing eyes are like those bioluminescent fish that attract their prey.
Yes.
With like an anglerfish. Yeah.
That's what's happening. He's just lured in by her crazy eyes.
And they're going to eat them. Run, fish, run! I mean, swim. Swim, fish, swim.
So again, I don't know how he does it, but he descends into a cave and somehow ends up in the castle. He lures her away. He's like, hey, come on. Taking away from her nursemaid. And they run off together.
Sure. Why not?
So they decide they're going to go to the swamplands, which are a neutral area, to see the butter spirits. Specifically...
Whoa, okay. Danielle, you got to slow down when you throw nonsense at me, all right? You got to give me a second to process.
I'll get into the butter spirits, I promise.
Not even the butter spirits. How is the swampland, like, have they have a treaty declared this is the demilitarized zone? What?
I don't know. They just say they're going to the swamplands because it's a neutral area, Sam. That's all I know.
Sure, fine.
To see the butter spirits, specifically to see Aloysius Genty, which is a friend
That's a great name.
That's why I put it in there. I almost did it, and I was like, no, Sam will like that name. I'm going to put it in there.
Like, yeah, Danielle, come on. You got to give me the joy.
It's a friend of Mickey's father, and apparently he's a high up there butter spirit.
He's the looking owl from, like, Secret of Nim or something.
It's a great name. So they make it to the swamplands, and Jessica asks why they're called butter spirits. And any idea, Sam?
They're made of butter?
No, they just...
Eat butter? They look like butter.
They absolutely eat butter. They are obsessed with butter. They are. They like butter. They'll do anything for butter.
They're called butter spirits?
They're called butter spirits.
So how did they exist before people churned butter?
Sam, maybe they're created because of the butter.
So like when people made butter, it also brought into existence butter spirits, like matter and antimatter. They must exist together.
Exactly.
So when they combine, it annihilates the butter. That makes sense.
Uh-huh. And so this is basically that scene from Princess Bride in the fire swamps, but with like more bogs that are boiling.
Sure. And no ROUSs.
And no ROUSs, but there are butter spirits.
I mean, it's a trade. I'm not sure it's a great trade, but it's there.
So they're wandering through the swamplands, and a man arises from one of the bubbling bogs and shakes off the muck. And surprise! He's dressed in green and is the highest of the butter spirits, Aloysius Genty.
He's like, where is my butter tribute?
He does ask them if they have any butter by chance.
Yeah, you know him.
He's an odd one, but they seem to trust him for the moment, and he offers them sanctuary and takes them to, I don't know, his house, a house, for tea.
Cool.
Just a house in the swamplands. So the castle, meanwhile, gets word that Jessica has been taken hostage by Mickey to the butter spirits, which seems like a crazy play. If you were actually taking someone hostage, why would you go to neutral territory? Come on.
You go to your protected zone.
Yeah.
So the butter spirits are like, we don't care who wins this war as long as they provide us an endless supply of butter.
Yes, 100%.
Cool. I mean, they're the only people who make sense so far in this movie.
Seem British for some reason. It's like they call it Little England, and I don't know why they're British when everybody else is Irish.
You sure? I mean, maybe that's a commentary on the British from the Irish who have feelings about them,
about their
the English.
butter.
Yeah. Well, no, sure. Let's not get into it.
So the weather is clearly very impacted by what's going on. Hail, giant pieces of hail start falling down from the sky. Bales of hay start randomly getting set on fire. Don't ask me why. And the weather is turned to like pure chaos.
Sure.
So Kathleen is back at the house. She's looking, I think, for matches in the house, but she's trying to set the, it's all dark and stormy out. And she comes across all of Randy's photos. And she's looking through them and she's like, huh. And then she finds this document detailing what his work is in the area. Any guesses, Sam?
Is it making a golf course and tearing down all the nature? That kind of thing?
Kind of. He's supposed to buy up a bunch of property and turn it into like a vacation destination.
Okay. It's a developer of some kind.
Yes,
I got it.
Exactly that. She's obviously very put off by this, as one should be. And she's not
In
sure.
general, yeah.
And she's not sure which of his lies she should believe. Like, is he this evil guy who's there to be, developing, or is he the nice guy she's come to know? Who knows?
In the 4 days I've known him, I've really got a full picture of him as a human being.
Then Seamus pops in after she leaves the house to see how Randy is feeling about training the leprechauns. And he's still on the fence, but agrees to help them if they'll talk to Kathleen for him. So
he's going to trade the lives of the fairies.
Yes.
Like he's going to participate in the genocide of the fairies if they can help him get laid.
Yes.
What a stand-up guy.
And so but he sees them, like he gets the power to see all of the leprechauns, so now he can see the whole field full, and he's like, yeah, there's too many of these little leprechauns to train alone, so I'm gonna need help.
And he calls in
no.
General Patton.
No. So thankfully, right after that, the brothers arrive to fight him because Kathleen's, told on him. And he's like, before we get into this, why don't you guys come inside and have a drink? And then he somehow convinces them that they should join the leprechaun fight, and they agree to join in for some gold. Like the leprechaun appears and they're like, we're gonna steal you and take your gold. And he's like, listen, if you help with our fight, I'll give you a pot of gold. And the brothers are like, that seems fair.
Why'd you steal him to the gold? Like, what leverage is I don't get this.
Well, apparently it's not true that if you kidnap a leprechaun, you get a pot of gold. So he's saying, but I will give you a pot of gold if you actually help us.
Yeah, but if you capture him, and I'm not saying they should do this, but based on their personalities, I think they would do this. If you capture him and hold him ransom or whatever, you can get the gold anyway.
That's true, but they don't think that's far. Oh, they're sharp as knives in the door.
Clearly.
So they're out in front of the house. My notes got much more sparse towards the end of this.
You stopped carrying, I guess?
It was just a lot. So they're out in front of the house and they're trying to drill the troops, essentially. And Kathleen shows up in her little horse and cart to tell Randy that he has to figure out how to stop the war because they've already lost their barn and a field of wheat and the whole world's being destroyed and blah, blah, blah.
Wait. A couple of things. They had fields of wheat?
I guess.
2, how is the barn collapsing because of the fairy war?
Because, like I said, the bales of hay were on fire. It just seems to affect things. I don't know.
Okay. 3rd, the whole world is affected by this, not just Ireland?
Well, at least Ireland is affected by this. The entire
I'm not
country.
saying that's not enough, but she's like, nature's gone haywire everywhere. Damascus, New York, Zimbabwe, all these places.
You never see outside of Ireland, Sam.
That's what I'm saying. So it'd be really interesting if the whole world was in a panic over suddenly nature going screwed up because of a little tiff between the fairies and the leprechauns in Ireland.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Kathleen's there trying to tell him that he has to save the world. And he's like, I'm trying. It's not easy to, show up here.
Be green.
And to a new place. And then there's leprechauns. And then I'm generaling a war of invisible people. And then the world's ending. And I've lost my job. And you don't believe anything I'm telling you.
That's a lot.
And then he wanders off. He gets mad and storms away. So like I said, there's a battle the next day. A planned battle. I don't know. They seem to have, they both agree there's a battle the next day. Is that how battles work, Sam? Do you usually, pencil them in on your calendar?
I mean, I do. I like to be polite, send a little invitation. Maybe have a little perfume and a wax seal if I'm feeling fancy on the invite.
Meanwhile, back at the castle, they've decided that they're going to, try... They somehow know they're over at the swamplands, and they're going to try and get, Mickey and Jessica to come back, because they think that Mickey's
using
stolen.
A butter trap.
Yes, they think Mickey's kidnapped Princess Jessica.
Well, I got it.
So the fairies fly over to the butter spirits, and they come in peace. They have a little white flag that they carry with them as they're flying in. And Mickey and Princess Jessica skip out as the delegation arrive because they don't 100% trust Aloysius Genty. They think that
with a name like that, how could you not?
Well, as you will see, the fairy delegation arrives and tries to bribe Aloysius with butter, and he seems 100% down for that.
I knew it. I said butter's the key to his heart. It's great.
Because he's like, we would never surrender them. They're here, as my guests, blah, blah, blah. Well, what about the butter? Huh? Butter?
I mean, butter will do it, I'll be honest. I'd betray them for butter.
Yeah, it's expensive.
They're kids.
Back at the castle, they're doing like war games and decide that they've decided that they must also kidnap someone from the leprechauns to make it fair. Or they're done for. Like, if they've got Princess Jessica, then that's like the leprechauns are going to win. So they decide they're going to pick up Seamus as the most, recognizable person in charge of the whole organization.
Okay.
So we're now at the leprechaun base camp. That's like right at the edge of their field where the giant castle is. And they're having another dance number. I guess they've brought a whole squadron of Irish dancers with them and full costuming.
Yeah? What?
They're having like a dinner. It's by the fire. It's nighttime, and they've decided that they're going to host a giant party, and they just have a giant Irish dance number.
It's just like the pre-war celebration or something?
Yeah, they're out in base camp. They're on the field. They're like, the next day is supposed to be the war, and they're just having a great time by the fire at night with like a dozen Irish dancers in full regalia.
Oh, okay, sure.
Don't you bring your full squadron of Irish dancers with you to the war, Sam?
Yes, all the time. What is going on?
I don't know. They're just like having a big party, and then they have all their Irish dancers, and I thought it was very funny. So the fairies head out to check out the leprechaun base camp, and they want to kidnap Seamus while this big party's going on. And so they sneak into camp, and then they see him. Somebody mentions him in a tent, like there's in the tent area where he's staying, and they see his shadow along the tent wall. So they whack into the tent, knock him out, assumedly wrap him up, and take him back to the fairy castle.
Okay.
But when they release him in the fairy castle, it turns out it is not Seamus who was at the party. It is his wife. Dun, dun,
oh no!
Dun! Mary's been kidnapped.
Oh, is that a problem?
He doesn't. Seamus is like, whatever. I guess.
Yeah,
we'll go
he
get her
doesn't
back.
even like her very much.
Get into that a little bit.
Doesn't like to have a lot of leverage.
But they don't know that. The next morning, Randy wakes up and realizes that Princess Jessica and Mickey have made their way to his house. They've left the butter spirit, and they're complaining to him over breakfast about how they can never be together. And now that the Grand Banshee has made them mortal, it's all a mess. And Randy suggests that they talk to her. Just like, go have a conversation with the Grand Banshee. Like, maybe she can help solve it, or, do her job as some kind of all-seeing deity.
Yeah.
What's she doing? And Randy, and they're kind of initially like, I don't know, that doesn't seem like a good idea. But they finally agree that they are going to hike up Moonstone Mountain to talk to her. And Randy wants Kathleen to go with them because he wants a chance to apologize to her, I guess. He's like, I won't go if Kathleen's not going. So the leprechauns hijack her horse and cart as she's out in the woods and like pull her up to Randy's cottage. Randy jumps in and he's like, we're going to talk to the Great Banshee. And they basically kidnap her and take her with them.
Sure.
This seems like the best way to get the girl of your dreams, right? Kidnap her, take her to the Great Banshee.
Yeah, I get. Like, I don't know whose relationship is worse, Kathleen and Randy's, or Princess Jessica and Mikey. Like, they're not great. I'll be honest.
What's wrong with Princess Jessica and Mickey?
I mean, they're kids who got their families killed.
Are they the reason why these two people are at war? It seems like they were just like itching for a war.
I mean, there's that, but like Mikey didn't help like tone down the heat or rhetoric or anything.
No, he did not. So they get to the mountain, Moonstone Mountain, and they're climbing up it. And I'm going to skip over this whole section, but it's a big long climb. They almost die. Blah blah blah. They finally get to the entrance, and Princess Jessica and Mickey decide that they're actually going to go forward because the door is very tiny and the humans can't fit into it. But Jessica and Mickey can. So they're like, we'll go together to talk to her about our love. Surely she'll help out if she sees how, serious we are about each other.
Yeah, she's such a great job so far. I wouldn't trust her to help, honestly.
So, yeah, this is a good time to remind you that the Banshee, again, is all-seeing. So she assumedly knows all this is happening. It is just letting them do this.
This is just like the Hyperion conversation we had, where like having an omnipotent character in your story kind of ruins a lot of things. Like it makes it very hard to have anything happen because she should already anticipated this, already know what's going on, and should not be making these bad decisions.
Yeah, 100% agree. So as they go to approach the door, a fire erupts from it, turning into a giant rock fire creature. It's a fire changeling, and only guardian of the caves, Fergus Flynn, Esquire.
Esquire, of course.
He's this giant flaming rock creature, and he tells them that they need an appointment, and they're like, okay, well, how do we get an appointment? But the only way to get an appointment is to see the Grand Banshee. Oh no, it's a catch-22. What are they going to do?
Go see the Grand Banshee?
But they can't without an appointment, Sam.
Danielle, they're just going to do it anyway. It's fine.
Randy clearly has an idea, though, and tells them he's just a waste of hot air and isn't big enough to stop them. And of course, the fire changeling immediately starts like growing bigger and bigger in size. Like, am I big enough now? And then he distracts him, and Jess and Mickey run through his legs and get into the tunnel as he's no longer blocking it.
Oh, what a great guardian.
That's a creative solution, though. I appreciated it.
I mean, it's the most interesting thing Randy's done this movie so far.
They try to sell us later that Randy's like special and no other humans have, in years have been able to see all of the leprechauns. And I was like, nah, not now, man.
Not buying it.
So they run into the cavern, like they run into the tunnel, and it turns into this giant cavern. And inside of the cavern is a hotel.
Sure? What?
That's what's in there, Sam. It's a hotel. Literally, it says hotel on it. It's built into the stone of the cavern.
Is the Banshee running like some kind of scam here where she wants to be the developer and develop the location to the resort town?
That'd be great, but no.
Okay.
It's just a hotel. There's not really a reason for this. It's just a giant hotel. She likes the room for service, she says. So that's a thing.
I thought this movie didn't make sense in the beginning, but wow.
Culture got weirder. So they're walking up the stairs of this hotel, and as they're walking up the stairs, these two workers, hotel workers, are walking down as they're going up, and they're carrying like a moving picture of one of the scenes in the show, like a video of it. I don't know why. It's just all-knowing
Banshee just likes to have that for entertainment.
Maybe that's how she watches what's happening. Don't know.
Sure.
So they go up to the door. There's two guards standing at the door. They're like trying to convince them to be let in, and they're like, "Nope, you need an appointment." And let me guess, the only way to get an appointment is to see the Great Banshee. Blah blah blah. And they're like, "Well, please, can we see her? We really need to talk with her." And they're like, "Wow, we haven't had somebody say please in a really long time."
Boo!
They're like, "I think we could fit you in. We have an appointment open. If somebody had cancellation, we'll get you in right now." And they let him in.
Boo!
So dumb.
All the mild creativity of solving the fire guardian is thrown out the window with this one.
So the Grand Banshee meets them. She's got a face mask on, not like a fancy mask. I mean, like a beauty face mask, like
I got
clay
it.
Mask
I almost assumed immediately this was like a spa day.
And her wig, not great. And they ask her to stop the war, and she says she can't. She warned them she can't stop it. Too late. Too little, too late.
You're useless, Banshee.
Also, this is my favorite part. She's clearly trying to do an Irish accent. Sort of.
Now?
But she just sounds like Whoopi Goldberg with like a lilt at the end of her sentences.
So do you think they filmed this scene first? They're like, Whoopi, stop. Let's not try to do an accent for the rest of the movie. Just drop it.
I don't know. But it's not, at first I was like, no, she's just talking. I was like wondering if it was going to turn into an Irish accent. And I was like, nope, she's just talking like Whoopi Goldberg. And I was like, no, she's not. She's got weird little lilts at the end. Like everything sounded like a question. Very good. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Good stuff. Okay. Interesting choice, movie.
So she shows them a mirror that is Mother Nature, which apparently is just a tree, and the tree is brown, and the leaves are falling off of it.
There's a mirror with a tree in it.
There's a mirror with a tree in it, and she says, "This is Mother. This is Mother Nature.
Representation of Mother Nature.
This is Mother Nature." And when the last leaf falls from the tree, Mother Nature will be done. There will be no more Mother Nature. So I would assume this affects the whole world, and not just Ireland.
Yeah, wow. Wow. I was joking, but wow.
And it's unclear if Mother Nature was struggling because they were fighting to begin with, or because now all the fairies are dying, they are struggling. In which case, as you have pointed out, and I also felt, that if it's because the fairies are actually dying now, which seems to have caused a much larger issue, right? As soon as the fairies started dying, like all the weather and everything went to crap. That feels like the Great Banshee's fault.
Also, this may be off topic, but how is she a banshee? Like, what kind of banshee stuff does she do? I don't hear like wailing over the moors at night or something.
Nope, you don't see her be a banshee at all.
So it's just a word they attach to her that has no actual meaning?
Absolutely 100%.
Great. Okay.
And her costume is terrible.
Oh, Whoopi Goldberg deserves better than that.
It's like it's like script with a budget costuming on her. The rest of it is like, at least they're trying. I'm not sure they tried with her.
Sure.
Okay, they make it back into town, and the humans did absolutely nothing during that whole trip. I need to make that clear. So they hiked up. They almost died. They took the fairies up there, but the fairies could have just done it themselves.
Well, Randy got them past the fire guardian. Let's be fair.
Okay, sure. Randy got him past the fire guardian.
There you go. He was essential. They would have gone in because they needed an appointment, etc., etc.
They might have figured it out themselves. You don't know that.
No. Okay. These two numbskulls, he couldn't even figure out how to tell him where an underwater castle was.
That's fair. So, the leprechauns are planning to attack. Seamus, feeling a mild moral obligation to get his wife back. He's like, yeah, I guess.
Is anyone likable in this movie?
No.
Okay.
The fairies feel safe because they're all up in the castle, and they're like, how the heck are they going to get up here? It's not like...
catapults.
Actually, Sam.
Uh-oh.
They do. They use the oakshees, which are like the ent-like creatures,
to fling them, to fling them up there,
catapult them through the sky to the castle.
Duh, fairies! Come on, don't be idiots.
And I guess, like I said, none of them are in love because none of them can float. And also, considering they're mortal now, I don't know if I'd want to be catapulted through the sky.
If you miss, you're in trouble.
That seems like
even
a bad
if you hit,
idea.
you're in trouble, I guess. Yeah. Either way, it doesn't sound amazing.
Once the troops make it up there, though, they drop down ropes for the others to climb up, and they get into a fierce battle on the floor of the castle here, and people are dying left and right. And eventually, the leprechauns call for a retreat and disappear like over the edge again. But it's too late. Many of the fairy are dead on the ground and disappear. And then Princess and Jessica and Mickey are watching from afar. They are very saddened, but good luck. Hark, you could say. They come upon a thorn tree, which apparently is some kind of dark magical tree. And its lore is that if a couple leans against the thorn tree together, they will lose their love for each other.
Okay. Just throwing new things at us left and right movie, I suppose.
That's this whole movie is
Banshee
like that.
hotels, thorn tree lore. Come on, give us a moment here to breathe. So these geniuses are they going to lean on the thorn tree, get rid of their love, so they can then get their people to stop fighting because they think they're fighting about them.
Yes.
When honestly, they're just a small part. They're like the spark that lit this, maybe, but they are not the reason the tinder was there.
100%. Exactly what's happening right now.
They're dumb.
So they decide, well, as you said, this is a Romeo and Juliet parallel, and they weren't very smart either.
That's true. That's why it's a tragedy, not a romance. They
decide to try to see if it'll stop their people from fighting, as you mentioned, so they both dramatically collapse against the thorn tree.
I like the drama. At least they have a sense of theater.
Yeah. And this is possibly my favorite part. This gold magic electrocutes through it. Like all the branches turn like gold electricity through it all. And it goes over their bodies. And they're just like sitting there with their eyes closed. And like it happens for quite a bit. And then it dissipates. And they both get up and they're like, are you all right? And the other's like, yeah, I feel all right. What about you? Yeah, I'm feeling all right. But like, do you think we're still in love? Well, I don't know. I feel all right. He's like, well, maybe I should like give you little kiss on the cheek and let's see how that goes. And he gives a kiss and he's like, how did that feel? And he goes, oh, it feels all right. And then it's like, well, let me give you a kiss on the lips. And so they give him the kiss. Does that feel? Oh, it feels all right. And then immediately they start making out.
And they do hand stuff. Got it.
Oh no, we're still in love. Darn this magic tree with the golden lightning that did nothing. Why was there golden lightning?
What was the point of that? Yeah. Teenagers.
What was the lightning? It was all over them. What happened? Maybe their love was too much for the tree.
I don't think that's true. Again, it's been like 4 days.
Back in the fields, Randy and Kathleen decide the only way to solve the war is to find Mickey and Princess Jessica. So they head to the swamplands where they assume maybe they went.
Mickey and Princess Jessica are the reason for this war. Clearly, the leprechauns and fae have been fighting long before they decided to hook up.
Cannot tell you.
Dumb.
The fairy court has decided also, as a side note, to dig a tunnel from their castle to come up behind the enemy camp.
Sure, I love that plan.
But can you tell me how they dig it? Because like they're in the sky. Remember the castle's in the sky. They're digging. So they dig it
from the castle in the sky through the ground to up underneath the enemy camp.
But how does it? It doesn't go to the ground. The castle's in the sky. Why are they digging a tunnel through their own castle?
It's very simple, Danielle. They want to have a direct route, so they have like a little funnel on the ground that leads to the tunnel, and they built like another hole in the castle floor, so they can just like drop down at like a fireman without the pole and hit that funnel and be shot through the tunnel.
Fly out one of the mini doors of this castle and then just fly down to the hole and crawl into the hole.
Danielle, that doesn't make any sense. You're talking nonsense.
Okay.
Why would they fly down when they're not in love? A. B.
They're fairies. They can fly.
I don't think that's true. B. They have toilets in that castle, presumably. So they got to go somewhere. She's using the same technology, obviously.
It was so perplexing to me why they were digging a hole.
I don't know why you're perplexed, Danielle. Digging a hole through your castle for cool factor is pretty much the only thing that makes sense to me in this movie at all.
Crazy. For reasons, Jessica and Mickey have gone back to the butter spirits and have bribed Aloysius with butter to come up with a plan for them.
So none of the main characters in this movie take any initiative. It's like, let's just bribe this guy to think of it because we can't be bothered.
Yes. So he suggests that they fake die and then their families will stop fighting because they'll realize that their actions have consequences, I guess. Who cares about
all the
natural
people dying don't matter, I guess.
And so
all the hundreds, nay, thousands of other deaths, those people, their families didn't care about them. But you two, everyone cares about you enough. Oh, this is such a teenager plan.
Made by a butter spirit who is a full adult.
I mean, to be fair, he's probably so full of cholesterol that his brain don't work good.
That's very possible. So he gives them a magical flower juice that will put them into a temporary coma. And he also gives them the antidote that they have to take within 10 minutes of dying. Don't ask questions like, how are they going to take it if they're dead? Who knows?
Right. And also, I mean, writers, there are other stories besides Romeo and Juliet you can crib from.
Nope,
come on.
There are not. This is 1999. It was only Romeo and Juliet, Sam.
This is like how there's only 2 ballets, right?
All by Tchaikovsky.
Right. The Swan Lake and the Nutcracker. Everything that exists. Yeah.
So Randy and Kathleen meet up with the leprechauns and fairies and they meet up with them at the swamplands. And they're like, yeah, this plan will totally work. We'll help you put that into motion.
No, don't.
And I should also mention that the Mother Nature tree is now following them around. They see them in you keep seeing the reflection of it in every pond or reflective surface. So.
Okay,
Mother Nature's dying.
I'm sorry, but I can't muster up a lot of energy to care.
Meanwhile, back at the cottage, a tornado touches down.
One of those famous Irish tornadoes they're known for.
Plot of this is so random at the back end. And Randy's in their home. So Randy, for the first time, shows some kind of emotion at the destruction of nature, but it's too little too late because he gets sucked up into the tornado.
He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead.
No. Psych!
The other brother's next.
It's the Banshee! And she's grabbed him with her bird. She's human form, but she's got bird feet. And she grabs him from getting in the middle of the tornado. She just like grabs him out as he's getting sucked in, I guess saving him from the tornado is what this is supposed to be.
Question. Did the Banshee create the tornado?
No, this is, I think, maybe, but I think this is part of the greater issue with the world collapsing.
Great. So nature decides that when I die, I'm going to put more energy into the wind to make tornadoes.
Yeah. Maybe it just loses. It's like chaos. It just like all the energy from Mother Earth is just exploding out. She has no control over it.
I prefer to think of it as nature being like, if I'm going down, I'm taking you all with me.
And specifically Randy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would target him too. He kind of sucks.
Kathleen deserves better.
Even nature knows. Your relationship goes against nature.
Yes, that's what's happening. So she saves him. It kind of seems like she wants to talk, but all she tells him is that she wants the war to end as much as he does. And he asks her if...
You're all powerful! Do something!
He asks her if the plan will work, the one that they have with the kids. And she's like, I'm all-seeing, not all-knowing. And then she just disappears. I'm like, I'm sorry, the least helpful thing ever.
Seems to me like you're all abdicating of responsibility, more like...
Crazy. Randy shows up at the war camp. He wants to talk to Seamus, part of the plan. And he tells him that he has to call a peace conference because Princess Jessica and Mickey are willing to die for their love because they think they're the reason for the fighting.
And it's like, guys, it's not about them.
Seamus initially refuses because his pride is more important than his son, I guess. But he comes around and he waves a white flag of surrender. Well, not surrender, peace to the fairies. So the two sides decide to meet up on the battlefield. And it goes as well as expected. They get into this big shouting match about how each side is wrong of the other, etc., etc.
How about we all team up against the Grand Banshee and overthrow her dictatorial rule? Because really, it's her fault that we're in the predicament to begin with.
Yeah, assuming she's the one, like, it's a little, like I said, it's a little unclear if she's just the bearer of bad news or if she it seems like the characters have suggested that she has like made them mortal.
Right.
So that's what I'm going with.
Which is the more fun assumption anyway.
So like I said, two sides are meeting up. There's this huge argument. Kathleen pulls up with her horse and carriage with the leprechaun and fairy on board. They take the potion as they watch the others fight, which is kind of interesting. I thought maybe they'd like threaten the others, like, we'll kill ourselves if you don't, come to a peace agreement.
Again, very teenager. Like, we'll run away. Won't you be sad when we're gone?
But they don't do that. They take the potion outside of eyesight from the people that are having the argument, and they just, like, lay down and go into a coma, I guess.
Couldn't they just, like, pretended? That'd be just as effective, it seems.
Like, why? It's not like anybody checks them to see if they're alive.
Right. Then to do a pulse check or anything.
Nope.
Just get some ketchup, spray it on your, like, chest, and, like, get a knife, and, like, guys, come on. 101 stuff.
Nope, they go into a coma. Otherwise, there's no, like, concern about the fact that Kathleen has the antidote.
Why does Kathleen have the antidote? Why did they give, like...
They gave it to her.
That was a mistake.
She's going to be responsible for giving it to them to wake up.
Sure. I mean, I would have multiple people holding the antidote, but that's just me. I like redundancy.
So she calls the leprechauns and fairies over. She's like, they found their bodies. Hurry up. Come collect them. And so the bodies are carried over to the fighting mass. And the music swells as they bring the bodies forward, and the families are crying over them. And Randy makes a speech about how he warned them that this would happen, that they have to make peace.
I know all your other families, your other sons and daughters are all dead, but they don't matter. These two teenagers, they're the only ones who seem to matter to any of you.
So that you have to make peace so their deaths are not in vain, Sam.
Boo, this is the dumbest thing.
Seamus is like, but we need a treaty. And Randy is like, no, you can do that later. You need to shake hands because a handshake is more binding than all the treaties in the world.
As we've learned, neither handshakes nor treaties are particularly binding.
They only have 10 minutes, though, Sam, so they have to lay, otherwise the kids are going to die.
I mean, if they've established that they're going to make peace anyway, couldn't they just be like, all right, cool, now that you understand the stakes somehow that you didn't understand before when everyone else was dying, we'll bring them back to life, and you can go about your peace summit or whatever.
Sort of. So Seamus and King Boric, I guess is his name, step forward and shake hands, and Randy waves Kathleen over, like, hey, come bring the antidote. And she drives her cart forward, but just as she starts to move, the land opens up from the tunnels the fairies were building, and the cart tips over. Kathleen lets go of the antidote. It flies through the air and cracks open, spilling on the ground.
Darn you, sky tunnels!
And Randy rushes forward to help, and the horse rears and hits him in the head, and he falls backward into the hole and passes out.
Please tell me they all die. Please tell me they all die.
That would be pretty great.
We're terrible people.
The Grand Banshee appears above them all, floating in the air, and everyone's like, please save our children. She's like, it's not that easy. There's nothing I can do unless you really want peace in your hearts. What?
What? Do you have power or don't you, lady?
Everyone starts shouting that they do. They definitely want peace. And everyone starts cheering when like there's no disagreement. Everybody's like, we do want peace. And everybody starts to cheer. Yeah.
Two questions, actually. First, why do the leprechauns all care about Randy and Kathleen? Or anyone care about them? Like, why are they like, oh no, our princess and her lover are dead. These two random humans are also maybe injured. We care all about that all of a sudden. Like, do they know about the antidote plan? Like,
they don't care about Randy. Well, I mean, she mentions that nobody really cares that much about Randy and Kathleen.
Yeah, okay, good.
It's more focused on the two, the leprechaun and the fairy.
But from their perspective, they're already dead. They don't know about the antidote.
But he's thinking they're hoping that she can bring the kids back to life.
So they're like, oh, we want you to resurrect them anyway. They just have that in their head.
Like, yeah, you have all the power. Don't you have the power to resurrect our children so they're not dead?
Okay.
That's what they're asking for. They're like she's a godlike being.
I thought they were like, oh no, the antidote's gone. Save us.
No, they don't know about the antidote.
Okay, that was my confusion.
A couple people know about the antidote, but most of them do not know about the antidote.
Right.
So they're all cheering like, we want peace, we want peace. And then suddenly the Mother Nature tree comes back to life. And magic, Princess Jessica and Mickey come back to life. But also, so do
everyone else.
So do all the people who've died before.
I've seen the movies before, yeah.
But not Count Grogan, because the Banshee says she's holding him hostage for another 100 years or so that he can learn his lesson.
What about the other instigators?
Like Sean,
the cousin. Yeah. Is he like, oh, you're off the hook, Sean, but Grogan, you get the punishment.
Yep. Because Sean's just a charming Irish lad, and then Count Grogan's kind of a jerk.
Okay, sure. That's nonsense. Banshee sucks.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Someone just overthrow this Banshee immediately.
Back at the cottage, and by the way, what's his face is fine. He was not dead.
Well, I figured.
Randy.
Unfortunately.
She's like, I can't do anything for Randy because he's fine. He just passed out. Back at the cottage, Seamus has been having all the brothers like dig all over the yard in search of pots of gold. Like he was just pretending like there were pots of gold all over the yard. And he's like, well, I guess I'll give you guys a pass. I'll help you out. And so they dig into the ground and then oil like spills out of the earth and shoots into the air. They're rich.
No. That's even worse. Hey, Seamus, do you like Mother Nature? No. Because fossil fuels like that oil are not good for her.
Don't think about it too hard. And then
too late.
Randy proposes marriage to Kathleen, who agrees.
It's been a week.
And cut forward, the Great Banshee is in like an insane head frock. I cannot describe it to you enough.
Yes, there's more of this.
There's like feathers on her head, and then it spills into a weird wig. I don't. It's like a feather skull cap. It's very weird. Sure. And she marries Princess Jessica and Mickey, and everyone's doing their best lives at this wedding. There's surprisingly very few people at this wedding. It was an odd scene.
I'd be kind of resentful of these two kids, too.
And they're all living their best lives together as Randy and Kathleen watch on from the hillside. The end.
That was something. I mean, it was fine up to a point, and then it got, like, dumber.
It gets so weird.
It gets, like, the characters and the motivation for everyone just stopped making sense. Like, were they fighting over Jessica and Mickey this whole time? Because I don't remember the rallying cry being like, how dare you steal our princess or whatever. It was all about like, you guys suck. No, you guys suck.
It's definitely part of it is like, we're going to war because Mickey kidnapped Princess Jessica was the fairies' reasoning, quote unquote. But no, they were already mad at each other.
Yeah,
otherwise, the Great Banshee wouldn't have made the declaration that they had to stop fighting, or they'd,
let's look at the Great Banshee for a second. She needs to have be like French Revolution because, not a good decision maker in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know how she's in charge, but she is.
Well, Danielle, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure it was a perfectly accurate representation of Irish folklore.
100%. I'm sure no Irish people will disagree.
Yeah, or be tremendously offended by this movie or miniseries, whatever.
I did not make up the movies, so don't blame me.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We are merely vessels reporting what exists, for better or worse. Oh yeah, anyway, she doesn't make the good decisions.
She does not.
But it doesn't like anyone in this movie make good decisions, honestly.
They did not. That is accurate, though, considering...
Especially Kathleen.
Poor Kathleen. What are you doing with your life?
She's the only character I actually liked, and she's the one who gets dealt the most dirty.
And again, as we said in the beginning, can you imagine Randy Quaid? He's like trying to be the romantic lead
charming,
in this.
Hugh Grant-esque charming lead.
Also, how tall is Randy Quaid? Because he is enormously tall in this movie. Like, I understand that a lot of the characters are like 2 feet tall, but like he is taller than every person in this entire, like alarmingly taller.
I mean, good for him, I guess. I don't know. Like, does that matter how that matters?
I want to know. Randy Quaid is 6 feet 5 inches tall.
That's pretty tall.
Which just explains a lot when all of these people are like
2 feet tall.
Yeah, and mid 5 feet. Like even though all the other men and stuff in this film are just much shorter.
Well, anyway, that was certainly something, Danielle. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
I think you're here much for yourself as you are for me.
Glad you enjoyed it. And just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
You seem surprised I had not seen this movie. Why?
I don't know, because I remember it being kind of a big deal when it came out in 1999. Like, it was a made-for-TV movie. And I just felt like something you would have seen along the way.
I mean, definitely possible, but apparently I missed this one, so I'm glad we rectified that. It filled those gaps in my pop culture knowledge.
Yeah. It's almost worth a watch.
Almost. It sounds fun. Almost.
It's only 2 episodes, so it's pretty easy.
Well, if you out there have been to the Banshee Hotel on the top of the mountain, please let us know if you have a rating or a review of that Banshee Hotel. I'd love to hear how the stay was.
Yeah, apparently the room service is excellent.
I mean, that's the most important thing.
They might have spa features, at least according to Whoopi Goldberg.
And if you want to help sponsor our fake death plan for wayward teenagers, where they fake their deaths to make their warring families stop, apparently that's a very necessary service that's been demand for hundreds of years. You can help sponsor that program at patreon.com/Book Retorts.
Of note, we will not be killing those teenagers.
No, I said fake death. Very clearly fake death.
Just wanted to make that as clear as possible.
The fake part is the most important word of that. Otherwise, you can find us at bookretorts.com.
You can also blue sky us at Book Retort.
Well, until next time, I don't know, maybe don't give immortal people the power to kill each other and expect it to solve all their problems.
Yeah, spoiler, it will not.
Definitely will not.
Also, I can't believe you didn't bring this up, but like, did Randy Quaid solve the problem of them coming through that town and leveling it? Because he doesn't really.
Oh, I assume that was already just sort of dismissed in the end of the happy ending.
He just says that he's going to tell them that it's not a good place for it, but he also just like never showed up for any of his meetings and quit his job in media res. So I have to assume that like they're not going to believe that.
So what's he doing now? Is he just mooching off of Kathleen for the rest of the time?
I'm assuming he has quite a bit of money saved working New York as a vice president of a giant place.
I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, that's a good question. Yeah, I just couldn't care at that point because the subplot of the romance between the fairies is like the actual plot, let's be honest.
I could not tell you how little I cared about Randy Quaid and Kathleen. I was like, get back to the fairies. What's happening?
I care about them insofar that I care about Kathleen not being shackled to this loser, but here we are.
Maybe that's all in the magical legend of the Leprechauns Part 2. Rainbow Boogaloo.
Well. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, well, until next time, bye.
Take care, everyone. I'm going to send you a picture of her costume during the marriage.
Her being Whoopi Goldberg?
Her being Whoopi Goldberg in the marriage scene. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm excited for this. Wow.
I did not undersell it.
Wow. Are those supposed to be wings or her hair?
I don't know.
You got to share this image with everyone on our socials because that's amazing.
I didn't even know how to explain that. I was like,
Danielle, this is the kind of image that words are unable to properly express. This requires poetry.